You ever feel like you're putting in all the hours, you're grinding away, but you're just stuck on a treadmill? If you know you're ambitious, but the results just aren't matching the effort, then you're in exactly the right place. We're about to dig into why hustle culture is a trap and how you can build real, professional systems that actually lead to scalable success.
This quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Let's get one thing straight. Your ambition is not the problem. Your work ethic is not the problem. The real issue, the thing that's holding you back, is a broken system. That feeling of spinning your wheels, that's just a symptom of a busted framework running under the surface.
So, what does a broken system actually look like in the day-to-day? Well, it's probably one or maybe all of these four things. First, just total chaos. You've got contacts in your phone, some in your email, a few in a CRM. It's a mess. Second, you try to fix it with technology, right? But automating chaos just makes the chaos happen faster. Third, content burnout. You're creating stuff, but it's so generic it just disappears into the noise. And finally, you've got a database that's more like a digital graveyard than a place where conversations actually start. Sound familiar? Now, the solution to all this doesn't start with a new piece of software or a fancier spreadsheet. Nope. It starts right here in your mindset. The very first move is to shift from being a reactive seller to becoming a proactive leader.
And this is the difference in a nutshell. Look at the amateur on the left. They're just an order taker. They react, they answer questions, they quote prices. But the professional on the right, they lead. They don't just answer the question asked, they diagnose the real problem and guide their client to the best possible solution. It's a completely different game.
So, how do you become that leader? It all boils down to one word: trust. And trust isn't some kind of magic. It's not something you just hope for. It's engineered. And the formula is simple. Trust is built on consistency, and you absolutely cannot be consistent without a system. Systems create consistency, and consistency builds trust.
And this right here is the guiding principle for every single interaction you have. Think of yourself as a doctor. You wouldn't want your doctor to just hand you a prescription without even asking what's wrong, right? Of course not. They listen, they ask questions, they diagnose the root cause. That's your job. Understand the client's world before you ever suggest a solution.
Okay, so we've got the leader mindset locked in. Where do we actually start building these systems? Pillar number one is your calendar. Before you can lead clients, you have to lead yourself. And winning your calendar is way more than just time management. It is the absolute foundation for everything else we're about to build.
Here it is, a super simple but incredibly powerful 5-step framework to run every single week. First, review. What worked last week? What didn't? Then block your non-negotiables, the big stuff like family time or your workouts. Then you set your top 3 goals for the week, time block for deep work, and finally, make sure you schedule at least 5 sessions dedicated to finding new business. You do this every week, and you'll start telling your time where to go, instead of wondering where it went. And here's where it gets really cool. A well-run calendar isn't just a schedule, it's a data machine. When you start tracking a few key metrics, how many calls you made, how many meetings you set, you stop guessing. You actually know what activities are driving results. Your calendar stops being a to-do list and starts becoming the dashboard for your entire business.
All right, so your personal system is getting dialed in. Your calendar is under control. Now let's take that same level of discipline and apply it to how you talk with your clients. It's time to engineer every conversation. Because let me tell you, the best, most impactful conversations don't just happen by luck. They are designed.
And this is where that doctor analogy comes to life. These 5 questions are your diagnostic kit. Notice, none of them are about you or your product. They're all about them. You're systematically finding the pain, the desired outcome, the urgency, and the cost of inaction. Once you have the answers to these, the entire dynamic of the conversation shifts in your favor.
So once you've diagnosed the problem, then you can prescribe the solution. But here's the secret. People don't buy features, they buy feelings and outcomes. You have to connect the dots for them. They don't care about your AI scheduling tool. What they care about is getting 5 hours of their week back. They care about less stress and more time to think. Never sell the feature, sell the future it creates.
Of course, a sale rarely happens on the first call. And honestly, this is where most deals go to die, in the follow-up black hole. This framework is your system for staying relevant without being annoying. And the most important part? Look at day 5. Add value. You stop asking for something and you start giving something. An article, a tip, a resource. That simple move transforms you from a salesperson into a trusted advisor.
Okay, so you've got your personal systems on lock. You're engineering your conversations. What's the final frontier for true breakaway scale? Delegation. But we need to think about this differently. This is not about offloading work you don't like. It's about multiplying your impact by empowering others.
And of course, there's a system for it. A simple 3-part formula. Most people get this completely backward. They start with the what, but true leaders start with why, the purpose. Then they explain the how, the rules of the game. And only then do they define the what, the specific, crystal clear outcome. When you do it in this order, you're not just assigning a task, you're empowering a person.
And this slide makes the difference so clear. The wrong way is delegating a task. Schedule 5 meetings. That's a command. The right way is delegating a result. Our goal is to get 5 qualified appointments by Friday. See the difference? One is an instruction, the other is a mission. One creates a follower, the other creates a leader.
Which really brings it all home with this powerful idea. When you truly get delegation right, you understand it's not about subtraction, getting things off your plate. It's about multiplication. You're not just delegating work, you're delegating a piece of the vision. You're delegating ownership, and that's how you build something that can actually grow beyond you.
So let's end with one simple but really powerful question. I want you to forget your business plan, forget your to-do lists, forget everything. If I were to just look at your calendar from last week, the raw data of how you actually spent your time, could I tell what's most important to you? Could I see your goals? Because your calendar never lies. It is the most honest reflection of your priorities. So take a look and make sure it's telling the story of the life you actually want to build.